Candyman, 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 Candyman. Hey horror freaks, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amanda. If this is the first time here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can get notification every single time that I post a video, and I post every single week. As you can see on the title on today's video, I'm going to be giving you my full review with spoilers of the new version of Candyman. Now, as always, all my reviews are with spoilers, but if you don't want the spoilers but still want to see if it's worth watching or not, the description box down below, there you're going to find my spoiler-free review on my blog as always, because I like to give you guys the options. So, giving that quick disclaimer ahead, let's get into the video. Now, I did a reaction to the second trailer that came out a few months ago, and besides being dragged on that video just because I forgot that Vanessa Williams and Tony Todd were going to be on the movie, basically I said that I wasn't that excited about the movie. I was just interested, because I am not the type of person that really believes that sometimes doing these sequels are necessary, especially with the ending of the Candyman of 1992, but it's still, I decided to give it a try. Now, the first thing that I want to say before getting into the full review is that what the trailer shows is not what is the movie. It's a completely different thing, but not in a bad way. I mean, it's the trailer compared to the movie, it's trash. Like, the trailer doesn't make justice on how good the movie it is, and it shows a whole different angle from what the movie is really about. The movie basically starts on Cabrini Green on the 1960s. We have this kid that his name is William, that is asked by his mother to do the laundry. Now, of course, if you have watched the Candyman of 1992, this is going to be maybe a predictable film, but it doesn't really bother. But if you haven't watched it, I wouldn't say that it's 100% necessary, because it's a sequel, it is. But sometimes they explain you the things that happen on the Candyman of 1992, meaning that if you haven't watched it and this is your first time ever hearing about Candyman and this whole thing, don't feel bad about it. You can watch the movie later. It's not going to really ruin the experience. But the thing is that if you have watched the movie, of course, the surprise elements here, they're nowhere to be seen. Seriously. There are parts of the movie where they're talking about things that are related, of course, to the first Candyman, and characters and places that, of course, they could say that it's not even a plot twist here by maybe the mid-end of the movie. It's kind of obvious, but if you haven't watched it, it's not going to be near obvious to you. Now, basically, this kid that is, like I said, his name is William, is asked by his mother to go into the laundry on Cabrini Green. Of course, we know that Cabrini Green is where the original Candyman legend kind of takes place on 1992. Now, he goes to do the laundry, and while he's about to, there are cops here on Cabrini Green, and they're looking for a man, and they have a sketch, and it's not hard to know who they're looking to. It's Candyman. Now, he goes to do the laundry, and he hears like something, because it's a huge like a huge hole in the wall, and a candy comes out of it, and he kind of sees, and Candyman appears. But it's not Tony Todd, it's another actor, and he has maybe a different coat. Like, he has the same aesthetic, but the coat and what he has like under the coat is a little bit different, and also like the hook, the hook, it's a little bit different. Now, he screams, and because he do it so loud, although he kind of stays on a state of shock, the cops get to Candyman and they kill him right away. Now, the movie kind of touches the society problems today with black men and women against the white supremacy, how whites have treated black persons over the years, and police and involving all this. You know what I'm talking about. It doesn't really bother, but it's not forced on the plot, if you understand what I'm saying, because sometimes they force the things on movies, but in this case it goes so smoothly that of course you're getting it. It's simple, it's not that hard, it's not hiding between the lines, but it's not like it's forced to you. Like, you really just connect with what is happening. We jump to 2019, that is the year where the film was actually made. Now we have Anthony McCoy and his girlfriend Brianna that they are just moving to Chicago, specifically to Cabrini Green. But there's one thing, is that it looks really classic and gorgeous and luxurious. And it's because over the years they destroyed basically what it was Cabrini Green. And well, she eventually calls it the ghetto, because she calls it like that. I'm not making that thing up. She says that basically the white people, they decided to take away and kind of move them to give a new reputation to the neighborhood, since of course about the legend and all the criminality and that type of stuff, you know what I'm talking about. So of course they try to do that, so of course they will all move out to another place, and Cabrini Green now is a more luxurious building and housing. Now we have this couple, and we have her brother and his partner, and they all drinking wine and celebrating because he's a visual artist and he's about to have a future exposition. So they just move and they are celebrating when Brianna's brother, he tells them, do you know the story here? And he starts talking about Helen Lyle, no Candyman, Helen. With puppets on the screen, you can hear him saying to them the story, how basically she was a student doing a thesis and how she killed a dog. She went crazy and she tried to sacrifice a baby, but she died. Of course, if you have watched the first movie, you know that this is so far from the truth, but it's how people saw it. So we're having the people's version, not the real one. If you haven't watched it, of course, you're not going to catch this. And of course, they kind of mess around with the legend. You must say it 5 times, that type of thing, you know, and they eventually leave. But Anthony, he feels kind of intrigued by the story. He even is investigating, and he's like, it did actually happen. And while they are alone on the apartment, he starts to say the name. And she's like, no, stop, don't do that. He says the fifth time, but nothing happens. But here's the thing. She's on this type of chairs that they can turn around, and he kind of turns her to her, so he's in front of her. But we have this huge wall that is of glass, but you know glass can be kind of reflection. And if you look closely on the background, there he is. He is Simone. He's back because you say his name. Say my name. I think that they do a pretty good job putting on that song on the trailer. Now, this is something that happens a lot. Now, basically, this Candyman, you can't see him like just like Tony Todd, that you could see him. Like, no, this one you can only see him on something that is a reflection, meaning only mirrors or maybe glass. So you need to keep paying attention on the background, like not on the front. Go and look at the details of the background, but that's where he is when you're less expecting. Now he decides to do some research, and he starts taking pictures of the neighborhood, and we have this old church. Of course, now it's way better than when I looked at before, and he's actually stung by a bee, and he kind of develops something all around his arm throughout the movie because of that. But at the first time, you're not seeing it as something really much. But of course, you know what bees mean here. So that he's having an exposition, but the person that is in charge of it doesn't like the paintings that he's doing. So he decides to do some research on this so he can have a little bit inspiration for his paintings. And he eventually gets to laundry, and he meets William, that it's the kid from the beginning, and he tells him the whole legend. And this is when he kind of grabs the more interest, and he does this painting, and he has the baby, and he has white hands like trying to grab him with blood, and he's really excited about it. And one detail here is that he was supposed to that day to have a dinner with his mom, but only Brianna went to that, and she's like saying to him like, your mother thinks that I am paying you to not come. And you could say that they don't have the best relationship, but his mother is not revealed until the end. Although it's basically said you can really Google, and you're going to find out pretty soon who his mother is. But of course, this is something that you're going to catch if you have watched the original. But of course, this is something that you're going to catch if you have watched the first one. Now, Brianna works on the gallery that the paintings are going to be on the exhibition, And what he does, he puts a mirror, and it says, and the actual name of his art, it's Say My Name, and has the whole explanation of the legend. And when you open the mirror, it has different paintings kind of telling a little bit about the story about what happened about Helen. Not precisely Candyman, but kind of mix it up. Pretty on the abstract side, but not so hard to understand. Now we have our critic there. She basically says that she's not impressed with the work. Like, she doesn't literally say that, but the way that she's talking about the piece kind of makes Anthony a little bit upset, and he kind of gets drunk. He eventually kind of insults the guy that is in charge of the exhibition. He gets a little bit mad, and he just run out of the exhibition and the whole gallery. Of course, Brianna kind of feels a little bit like ashamed, since it's her boss, the one that was insulted by her boyfriend. And we have Dan, the owner, and we could say is his assistant, although it's called an intern. They're closing the gallery, and they say the name 5 times on the mirror that it's of the piece. Of course, this is the first kind of deaths that we officially have of Candyman. And he appears and he killed them both. And Brianna finds the body on the next morning. Now, something about this movie is that it doesn't really shows, and the narration of the movie is not as typical as you would think. Like, she finds the bodies, but she's about to see them, it cuts. And it jumps to another thing that it's related, but it's not like we see them right away. And she having dreams because her father was a painter and he suicide. And she's having this dream between that and finding the bodies and watching Candyman on her room. So she has 3 things going around her head. And when she wakes up, Anthony's on the bathroom, and he has his hand on the water, like with the bee sting, because it's getting worse. Like, it has all his head now. Like, it looks pretty weird. It's not alarming, but at least for me, that I'm kind of scared that thing, I would have been in a hospital right away. And he's kind of being a little bit weird. Now the movie goes forward. Now the movie is 1 hour and 30 minutes, and I think that it's the perfect timing for it. It didn't have to be that long, or it didn't have to be shorter. It was perfect. Now visually, it's stunning. The shots of the city, gorgeous. Chicago is an amazing city. I have never actually been there, but it looks amazing. And the shots, they do really give details. Like, they're not like really zoomed, but they're like a full take of the city. Most of them are upside down, so it brings a little bit of like something different to it. Now, it really, the director Naya, she did an amazing job here. Like, seriously. She did such a good job here. She collaborated with Jordan Peele writing the movie, but she is the director, and she showed here her talent, and I can't wait to see more of her upcoming projects, especially in horror. She did such a good job, and Jordan Peele has done pretty good horror too. Now, Anthony, he's kind of becoming obsessed with the legend. He eventually paints like different Candymans, because we learned that it has been more than one. Because of course we know Tony Todd's version. It's done in Rabbit Tail, and what he did while he was killed, they show it with puppets, and I think it was a really smart way to show it, because it really gives the emotions. Like, the movie plays with your emotions. I think that a movie has never made me feel like the chills, but not in a scary way, but it really goes deep on you connecting with the characters and everything that is happening, especially if you have seen the first one. It really appeals to you, especially if you're a huge fan of the movie. Now, at some part, he gets a reunion with the critics, the one that basically said that his piece wasn't that good, and they're talking, and she eventually gets to her bathroom, and you could be thinking maybe she's going to say the name, and he starts to hear something calling him, and he eventually gets to a mirror, and this is when he sees himself as Candyman. This is something that is shown in the trailer. The trailer basically shows a lot. The trailer shows way more than it should, but so basically when you're watching the scene on the movie, you know what is going to happen because it was shown on the trailer. And he's seeing himself, and eventually it cuts, and it was kind of his imagination. But here's the thing, he has this mirror, so he's seeing her by the mirror. She's on the bathroom. Of course, the bathroom has another mirror and has like maybe like a, like it keeps going, like it's not like a wall, and he's hiding there, and you're seeing him like no like full, like you can see his silhouette, and he eventually moves out. So be careful, like I said, we're going and watching on the background. Of course you can look on the front, but look at the background, because those where all the details are hiding. And he leaves, and as soon as he leaves, the camera goes backwards, and we still see the apartment. It has a full glass here, so of course we see her body goes up, and she's kind of smashed to the glass, and the blood's coming. So of course we know that she's been killed, but like I said, you can really see him unless it's on the mirror. He also eventually starts investigating a little bit more about Helen, and he goes to a university, and they have her tape recorder and some of her things, so he starts to hear her. And I'm not going to lie, I really like it, the fact that they include her character in a more deeper way rather than just giving her a mention. Like I really like the fact her pictures were shown of how she looked, of course, on the movie, her actual voice, of what she was working on. I think that was a really good detail, actually putting her on the movie and not just like being really fast on it, because at the end she's a key part of the story. I mean, because of her is that basically we know and everything happened. So of course, I really, like I said, I really appreciate that. He gets on the elevator that is full of mirrors, and he kind of appears again, but of course nothing from the point of view of the everyone else, nothing is happening, but of course he's getting even more scary. So he eventually paints like different portraits of every single one of the Candymans that have existed. But how he gets to have the vision of all the faces, probably in a dream. They don't really explain that, but you can assume that it was because of dreaming or that type of thing. And Brianna is kind of went crazy, and she even leaves the apartment and goes with her brother, because of course Anthony is not on the best mental state, because he's going obsessive with all the whole story. Now, basically on the last 30 minutes of the movie is when we have the revelation of who is his mother. And it's no other than Marie McCoy, that is played by Vanessa E. Williams. Now, I'm not going to lie, this is not a surprise. I mean, you can even assume it from the trailer itself that he is her son, and by meaning that he's the baby that was saved by Ellen on Candyman of 1992. It's not that hard to get it. Like I said, it's not a plot twist, really. Maybe if you haven't watched the first one, so of course you're going to be like, oh, it was him all the whole time. Well, yeah, he was. So of course, like I said, it's not really an element of surprise for me. It wasn't really like, oh my god, it's him. Like, no. Her participation is really small, but I think that I really appreciate also the fact that she was on the movie once again and she wasn't recast. So of course I like it that she was here. So of course she lied to her son about where he was born and about everything, and she's basically saying to him that she never mentioned him because Candyman wanted him. So of course the whole reason why he's becoming obsessive and he keeps appearing is not because he wants to kill them, but it's because he wants him. So of course it's a more deeper meaning here rather than just a killing. Now of course she kind of gets a little bit like, I didn't want to do this, but I have to because I wanted to protect you. And he decides to, well, kind of take a walk once again to the neighborhood, and he eventually gets into one of the apartments. And then we have Brianna that is looking for him, and she eventually is abducted. And when she wakes up, she's on the church. She's tied to one of these chairs, and Anthony has gone crazy. And we have William that basically is calling the police, saying that someone is trying to kill him, and he's basically going to frame Anthony by the crimes, and that they have this that is no other than Brianna. Of course, everything is like, what? And by this time, Anthony, his arm, you remember that the beast stung him, right? He has all this part of his body is completely numb. He can't feel his arm. This is how actually he realized that his mother lied to him, because when they found his record on the hospital, the doctor is like, oh, you were born here, and he's like, no, I was born someone else. And she's like, no, your record says here, because one of his nails gets out because he can't feel his arm anymore. And by this time, he's no longer Anthony. Like, he's on a trance, he's no longer here. And William proceeds to cut his arm, like, not just the hand, but a little bit more further. Of course, he doesn't really feel much, and he puts the hook, and he dressed him with the coat and everything. But of course, Brianna, she's able to escape, and she eventually kills William. But Anthony, he kind of lays on her arms, and she's like, please wake up, don't die. And when the police eventually gets there, he's no longer to be seen, so she's just standing on the ground. She's actually been treated as a suspect, and the policeman that has her on inside of the truck, he's telling him two versions of the story. In the one that she's a witness, or the one that she did it. We all know like how they're treated by the police, so of course we know why they're doing this. And she says to him, just let me see myself in the mirror and I will tell you everything. Of course we know what she's going to do. So she brings back Anthony, and he kills everyone. And this is the best moment of the whole movie. He hits on the full mode of Candyman, with the beast included. And she gets out, and he's like turning on the truck, and when he starts doing that, Tony Todd starts talking. Seriously, this was the best moment. He starts talking, and as he passed, the reflection changes to every single one of the Candymans that has existed. And he gets to a corner, and she proceeds to go there, and he kind of turns to her and starts going forward. And the beasts, they start to clarify, because they were like covering his face. And when they do that, it's Tony Todd. I'm not gonna lie, it made me feel emotional, because seriously, it's such an emotional ending, and they did it such in a good way. And he's like, tell them about me. And God, I ended like this. Like, seriously, I could not believe such a good ending. Like, his participation was amazing. Yeah, it's pretty short, but it's all you need. That's how iconic he is. He only needs 5 seconds at the end of the movie to be so impressive. And that's basically how the movie ends. The movie definitely was a huge surprise for me. I wasn't expecting this to be this good. It's definitely a sequel, but it's a really good one. Of course, it's a sequel that nobody asked for, but it makes sense. They make it make sense, because something that I like is that they didn't bring him on an unnecessary way, because they could have basically just put on Johnny Todd as Candyman once again and be like, but he didn't die. Like, why he's here, like how everything happened, because sometimes they bring the characters back without any sense, like Jason Voorhees. So of course, bringing him as this, like a part of all the ones that had existed, including Anthony, that he has finally met his faith ever since he wants a baby. Of course, it does really make sense. They really tie the knots pretty well. They don't really make some plot holes. It really works, like I said. Visually stunning, acting good. The only thing that maybe is a little bit on the bad side maybe can be the script, but I'm not going to be even harsh on that, because it didn't really bother me. The gore is pretty good. It's just the fact that maybe you already watched all the death scenes because they were on the trailer, but they're really good. They're still pretty impressive. The scene in the bathroom of the girls telling on the mirror the name, if that scene wouldn't be on the movie, it wouldn't really make a difference. Seriously, it was just like a little bit out of place if you told me, but it really didn't bother me that much. But I will give this movie a solid 5 out of 5 or a 10 out of 10. Seriously, it's completely worth watching it, even if you have watched the first one or not. But in my personal suggestion, watch the first one. Like, seriously, if you haven't, or maybe give it a rewatch, just in case you can be fresh when you watch it. But in case that you're planning on watching Candyman for the very first time, I encourage you watch the first one and then watch this, because if not, you're not going to understand who is him. Because when they talk about Tony Todd's version, he's on puppets, so of course you're not watching the actor, you don't recognize his face. So of course the impact of watching him once again as Candyman is not going to be as much as when you watch the first one and then you're watching him. I really like it how they bring Ellen back and how they bring Anna Marie back. Like, they did a really good job here. Like, seriously. I mean, I have nothing bad to say. Like I said, I want to see more about Nia. She did such an amazing job as a director here. And like I said, Jordan Peele also did a great job writing and helping with the movie. Like I said, it's 1 hour and 30 minutes. Thoroughly worth it. It's not boring. It doesn't feel that long. Seriously. It's for me one of the best horror movies of the year. Seriously. And the fact that maybe people is going to like it or not, I'm kind of biased. I'm kind of in the middle there, because at least I really like it, but still I haven't heard someone saying that it was bad. So I don't know how many people are going to react to it, but at least for me, it's a really good movie. And basically this is all I have to say. I think that I have never talked so much about a movie until now. I have no idea how much I have been talking already. But this is all I have to say. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what do you think. You like it, you didn't, you're going to watch it. Let me know in the comments your opinion. And I'm going to see you guys on the next video. And please, don't say it. Don't say his name unless you want to leave this world. And I'm going to see you guys on the next video. Bye.